G'day and welcome to the Inforunners. I'm XQ, joined today by Batgirl and Badges. How are you guys both doing?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Good.
Excellent week.
Yes. It's maybe for you, but actually, no. I know you've been working very hard, so you're sleep deprived as well as me. So yeah, I did wish Concy try and get a Pioneer and fail, but I'm going to try and help him get one after this in the second wave. So hopefully he gets that. So yeah, it's one of those things where there's another limited ship on there, and I think the Pioneer is honestly one of the weirdest ships in game because you can't upgrade to it CCU wise. So it's a bit strange for me anyway. Yeah.
I wonder if that's going to change when they have more manufacturing ships.
Yeah, that could be a thing. It's in a really weird place because it's $850 and you can't CCU to it, but it's under $1,000, so it doesn't come with LTI. So they either need to make it so you can CCU to it, or they need to make it so that it's above $1,000 so you get it with LTI, because you're paying all that money and not getting the insurance on it. It's just a really weird thing to me. But yeah,
crazy.
Yeah. All right then, let's kick it to the browser. Is there anything you're looking forward to, Badges? Actually, while I'm thinking of it.
No, I mean, you always feel like this kind of day of IAE feels a little bit kind of like the poor cousin of them all. You know, aside from, as you said, the Pioneer, there doesn't seem to be a lot in here that we haven't had access to for quite some time, apart from maybe the Steve. So yeah, it's hopefully still there's some people out looking forward to getting some ships and get what they're after.
Yep. And I clicked on the wrong browser. Anyway, all right, let's click over to the browser.
Emergency awesome.
Spoilers.
Awesome.
Yeah, I had a movie in the background. That's what they're talking about. Anyway, the Mole. Obviously, I actually think we'll just go straight to the punch. This is also the what do you call it for today? This is the CCU for today as well, which is really interesting because it's the Warbond, it's every day available ship. So it's a really good one to pick up because it's a ship that's available all the time. So it's a good one to go to because any time you want a ship, you can just go from the Mole to something else. It's one of those really good, useful ones. But yeah, I'll be picking up one of those.
Really good for people that want to mine.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
The de facto miner today, besides the prospector, and you could even use it, solo these days. So it's a good unit, good ship.
Yeah. Yeah. So what about you, Badges? Fan of the Mole? I know it's Cruncy's favorite ship. So what's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I like the Argo aesthetic through and through. I owned the Raft for a little while. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they balance one Mole versus three prospectors in the future.
I agree with that.
Because
100%.
obviously you would kind of hope that there would still be an advantage to the multi-crew thing as opposed to three people just getting in prospectors and doing their own thing.
Well, they have differentiated what they go for these days. Like the Mole is really good at hitting those big rocks and getting the minerals off of planets, where the prospector's really good at asteroid mining and getting that quantanium. So, there is some differentiation now, but as more mining ships come out, we have to see what that does.
Yep, and we've also got all the gas miners and that to come along the line as well. So yeah, there's quite a bit to go. All right, I'm going to bundle the next two together because they're very similar. So I'm just going to call the MPUV. There is obviously a cargo version and personnel version, but I think we've got a long time to go before we kind of really see the fruits of the labor of these ones. So yeah, your guys' thoughts? Batgirl, your thoughts on the MPUV?
Kind of useless right now without quantum drives. I mean, you could throw them inside of a jump, you could throw them inside of a carrack and have a little bit of fun with them, but honestly, they're unless you're going to keep a ship in orbit and use the MPUV or the personnel version of it as a drop ship, really doesn't seem to have any place so far except for as something in your hangar to CCU from later.
If Paul Shelley was dead, he'd be rolling in his grave with what you just said, but he's not dead. He's very much alive. But Argo, tell her what you think of this ship, because to me, it's a great little ship for its price. It is an insanely good little ship.
Yeah, I think, again, the strength in this is the fact that the modules can be switched out, I believe.
Yes.
And it will be able to do different roles with one hull. So if you're someone who's maybe wanting not to spend a huge amount on imaginary spaceships, then this is not a bad choice because you can do your shuttle and your cargo and hopefully a few other things with it as well. I think from Squadron 42, we've seen one that looks like it's geared towards some sort of repair. So yeah, it's not bad from that perspective at all.
Yeah, it's a little utility ship essentially that's been designed for the Idris, but usable on some other crafts as well. So it's a little utility ship, like a little runabout, a little snub for those capital ships to fix them, collect some cargo. As Batgirl said, a little shuttle to drop people off, that type of thing. So yeah, it's better for bigger ships if you had them. All right, the Raft. Badges, you said you own one, so I'll let you take the floor on this one.
Yeah, I think the Raft, for me, kind of signaled quite a shift in the way they were designing interiors. The little crew compartment inside the crew quarters looked spot on. It seems to be very functional in the way that it's designed. Everything's got a purpose. You go to the back, you've got the crane that's going to lift up the multiple SCU containers and move them around. I think it's quite well designed from that perspective. And again, fits in with the Argo aesthetic, not necessarily similar to a lot of the other cargo ships we've got, and that can only be a good thing, right?
Yeah, it's kind of weird that this released a year ago and we're still waiting for the cargo refactor. So yeah, Batgirl, your thoughts on the Raft, please?
Yeah, I bought it last year. I'm a big fan of it. I like it. I know there's better cargo ships. It's just a lot of the ships I fall in love with have a look, and this just screams that type of box truck that you would see like delivering things to a port. Yeah. So I really like it, and I've flown it, and I know there's other ships in my inventory that are much more profitable in doing cargo runs, but this thing, I think it's going to come into its own, especially being able to unload things pretty much a lot quicker.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to when we can see it expand and stuff. Because I'm pretty sure that's what it's going to do, like expand and be able to carry more stuff. But we'll just have to wait and see, won't we?
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, it was actually Badges that spotted that. But once you look at it and you see how everything's overlaid, it makes a lot of sense that it could kind of, pull out and expand and carry more stuff. So we'll see. All right, SRV. I think for me, this is like a supplemental to the Crucible. That's just me, because I don't know. You guys tell me what you think. Batgirl, your thoughts?
It's a tugboat. Yep. It's hugely important now with 3.18, where boom, you're not dead. Boom, you're disabled. So somebody with an SRV could come out and use that giant tractor beam to pull you back into port. I like this.
Or steal your ship and take all the loot. That's a really good idea. This goes both ways.
I mean, we talk about pirates, but are there really that many of them?
Oh, I would say there are a few that enjoy it, especially content creator wise. We had a couple on here on the show the other week, so yeah. Badges, your thoughts? On this
I think we pretty much covered in terms of what it does. It's a very, very, very niche role.
Yeah.
I think, especially with the Crucible being able to go to things and repair them.
Yeah.
This is, I suppose, the stopgap. If in case your org doesn't have that many Crucibles, you're then able to drag stuff around and repair it. But it's an interesting concept in a space where everything's effectively weightless.
I could see these having a role if Operation Pitchfork actually ever happens. Pulling it back to the Crucibles that are repairing everybody. But
I think they'll use it to move cargo around as well, and they've explained it as a almost like a bubble that it makes, and it pulls everything in the bubble. And if two of them join together, the bubble gets bigger. So that's how they can. That makes sense. That's how they can drag an Idris. You can get, I don't know how many. I'm just gonna say there's 3. So if you get all 3 of them together, and the bubble gets 3 times larger. So that's how they do it. But they've even said you could drag loose stuff as well. So if you can get the bubble around a whole bunch of floating cargo, you could just take the whole thing, which is nuts. It's the most, I'm going to put it this way. I don't generally recommend ships under $250 because they don't kind of really maximize their value. But this is one of the most tempting ships for me, just because I just love the idea of it. It sounds really, really cool to me. So yeah, we'll see. All right, moving on. Wait, the Mole? All right, we're already on that. All right, so we must be on the next manufacturer. Right, cool. We're on to CNOU. The hover quad. I think for me and most vehicles is a miss. Do you guys agree or disagree?
I agree.
Badges? Yes, no, he agrees. Cool. He's nodding. That's not very good when I'm trying to listen to you. We're close enough. All right, the Mustang. I'm gonna bundle all these together. There is the 3 of them. I think no, yeah, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm learning to count. Sorry. Your thoughts on the Mustang badges?
Yeah, I think possibly looks-wise, it's one of the. It's probably the better of the cheap starter ships. It certainly kind of fulfills that you got the intakes and everything else. It doesn't look like a flying rectangle with some engines attached.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's that. It's just a shame that it's been a bad place for so long. I don't know if they fixed the bug where it spawns in at a ridiculous angle and you've got to hope that you can climb up it to get in the cockpit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's it could do with some work. But I do think it's a good looking ship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any of the other variants tickle your fancy, or no?
Not really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Batgirl, your thoughts on the Mustang?
Yeah, I started as 0 to hero in an alpha, and once you realize that you could squat down and walk into the cargo pod to access your internal storage, it actually becomes a different ship. So I had some good times in it. I mean, I moved out of it as quickly as I could, but it was not as bad as people made it out to be. It's able to hold its own in a fight.
Yeah.
Pretty stable platform for a gunnery. Just not something that you're going to keep going back to. Not like the Pisces, where you could start in it and still use it months later.
Yeah, it's one of those ships that you tend to pick it up with a package, and that's the whole reason you buy it is for the package, and you either upgrade out of it or whatever. But at the moment, with the cutter being around and getting the game with it for $45, obviously that means it's $15 more than this. I just find
60 after IAE, right?
Yeah, well,
60 afterwards.
Yeah. So, but I
That
think
is, yeah. So it makes it a little bit difficult.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if is it going to still come with a package after IAE, or is it going to cost 60? I thought it was 45, and then it was going to be 45 without the package. So it's just $15 more.
I just think the cutter with just the 2 size 2, which means 2 size 1 gimbals. This has 2 more weapons points. It's same 4. Yeah, the cutter is more. I think the cutter is going to be just like the Pisces. It's going to be really good for a starter, and then you're going to use it for bunker runs and things later. Yeah. So I think this is a good starter. I think they all are.
Yeah,
I don't think the cutter is as.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Just at the moment, if you can afford the extra 15, I think you'd be silly not to get it, because it's just it's right now a much better place. After the sale, if it stays at 45 and the game is removed. So it looks like there's going to be 2 packages. There'll be the package with the cutter that'll be 60, which is the same price as the Pisces, or it'll be 45 standalone, which is also the same price as the Pisces. So that makes a lot of logical sense to me. It'll be 45. So it's $15 more, but is it worth $15 more if you just want to get into the game? Probably not. If you just want to get at the game, absolutely bare bones, you can get this or an Aurora. So yeah, I agree with you on that. But for me, the best Mustang is actually this one. With the living quarters and stuff like that. I think that's the better way to go, but then again, you give up the cargo. So, this one just becomes too expensive. You can literally get an Avenger for that, so it's not worth it. Racing, I think it's one of the cheapest racing ships in the entire game. So if you're really into racing, and I've got the Amiga, which is the limited edition red one of this. So I really can't. Yeah, a lot of us older folks definitely have that one. So yeah. All right, the Nomad, the ship that me and Algrid love to hate. I'll just leave it at that. Badges, what's your thoughts on the Nomad or the Flying 50?
I think the Nomad's interesting just because it's like Consolidated Outland don't seem to have figured out their design aesthetic yet. I mean, if you look between the Mustang, the Nomad, and the Pioneer, it would be pretty hard to link them and go, oh yes, these are clearly of the same design language. And nowhere near as developed as some of the other stuff they've got. Having said that, all-in-one starter ship does the same stuff the cutter does, albeit for a lot more money.
Well, it's a cutter skew. I would say it's a cargo skew, though. It leads towards cargo more.
Right, 24 SCU, and it's got 2 shields.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to add to what you're saying there, though, Badges, and you can hate me if I say this, but one of the things that you were talking about the aesthetics, they did a whole rework of this ship to stop the ship landing on its wings, and then literally they brought out the Nomad and it hovers on its wing. It doesn't actually land. Why didn't they just do that to the Mustang? But yeah, anyway, it just to prove the point of what you were.
Get rid of the hover and put the wheels on it.
Yeah, well, it was just weird. They went to all this effort to do that, and then the very next ship they make from the same company, it just hovers on its landing gear. It doesn't actually land. So yeah. Anything you want to add about the Nomad there, Batgirl?
I love it. I mean, you guys hate it, and I understand why, but for me, it has the opportunity to do quite a number of different roles, whether it's a cargo run, box runs, or it's really good in a fight. I've taken this through claim jumper missions. I've taken it through MRTs. I'm not going to take it into anything beyond that, but it's a really good ship. It's nimble, falls apart really cool, right? When you get shot up and you can still get back. Yeah, I don't like the price.
Yeah. And that's
I don't like the price.
That's our main problem with it, is the price, because
it should be $15 cheaper.
Well, for its price, you can get a Hull A, and if you're gonna go into cargo, you go to the Hull A. This is some kind of weird.
I think it's the versatility, right?
This is some weird middle ground between the two, right? So you've got ones like, say, the Avenger that's got 8 SCU or 6 or whatever it is, and it's more got a bit of combat focus. This is like just the next step between. So I understand why it exists. I just think if you're going to go so heavily into cargo, you just go the whole hog and go to a Hull A. And that, I know they're trying to give options at the start. So from a design perspective, this ship does need to exist. But from a purchasing place, I think it's a ship that a lot of people are going to step over. But,
yeah. And I don't want to beat a dead horse. There are people out there that love this for another reason. It carries a rock.
That's true.
And you could do gem mining on planets, and it is easy to get that rock off and on it. And to me, that's the part that made me fall in love with the ship. Without that, take this ship and just toss it.
That's a really good point. It is the entry-level mining ship, technically speaking, All right, the Pioneer, the Behemoth. This ship is, man, this is kind of a weird one for me because it's so hard to get, as I said at the start of the show, but I also just love the look of it. And they've gone back and forward several times about... well, not several times, but it was originally going to be an outpost 3D printing ship. Now it looks like it's more of a mobile factory is the last thing we heard. So, I don't know, Badges, your thoughts on the Pioneer?
Yeah, I think that's part of the appeal, right? Is that there's so little we know about this ship. And I think there are a lot of people out there who are hoping to put an outpost somewhere on a planet to call home, even if it's just their kind of trading hubs run by NPCs, then, you know, it makes it very, very interesting from a what's it going to be able to do. And just looking at its size, the thing looks enormous. And everything's in the habit of getting bigger at the minute. The older concepts, I would suggest, are probably more at risk of that, whilst they were still figuring the metrics out. And well, we don't know how many hulls go on sale, but it sells out every single time within moments. So clearly a popular ship.
It usually gone within 30 seconds. You do bring up a good point though about because of the functionality of this ship, maybe that's why it's in that weird spot where they don't like to just have a CCU to it because they don't want too many people to have it in case they've got to make a massive change to it. That could be a thing. Your thoughts, Batgirl, on the Pioneer?
I kind of feel like it's going to have a expanding role. The thing is bigger than any outpost it's ever going to build. I think that you're going to see this moving also towards being a mini factory for more than just building a outpost, because they're starting to talk about manufacturing ships. And I think that once you build your outpost, this is a place to set up like a business.
Okay.
That's my only thought. I'm looking at it going, wow, you can't make something that big and be a one-trick pony.
Yeah, well, one of the things I think that they're kind of showing though is with base building is it's basically going to be a thing where you're going to kind of mine out an area as an example and then move on. And so you're going to need something to set them up. But I'm wondering if the other part of it is tearing them down. Are we just going to take them apart ourselves and like recycle the material kind of a little bit like what salvage is? Like, are they going to be salvaged buildings? are we going to have a ship that lands and salvages we're going to have to wait and kind of see, but yeah. All right, next one. Hovercode. We've done that one. On to the next then. We are onto the Rock. I guess you mentioned this with the Nomad, our starting mining profession. Like most vehicles and most things under $250, I don't recommend them, but I can see why you would buy this in game 100%. Badges?
Yeah. I think this tends to be bought by a lot of people, I think, because it's immediate access to one of the few game loops that we have, right? And all you've got to do, even if all you do is fly yourself to a mining station, spawn it, fly off, you don't even need a ship that carries it, the way the game's set up. So yeah, and you know, I'm sure a lot of people enjoy that game, that mining loop. I did quite a bit of mining at the beginning of every patch. Really, that's kind of how I start my money making. So yeah, it's a nice little ship, and a nice little buggy, and it's great the amount of things that you can shoehorn this thing into.
Yeah, agreed. Batgirl, do you want to answer that?
It doesn't take long to make 1 million UEC in this, so. No. If you're looking to buy bigger ships, this is the way to do it. And the Nomad has a far smaller cross section than a Cutlass, so the two of them go well together.
Yep, I disagree. The Rock DS, I think this we should have bundled that with the last one, but yeah, this is pretty much the same thing, a little bit more extra cargo space. That's
doesn't fit in many things.
Yeah, and it just doesn't fit in as many things. I'd agree with that. So people tend to refer to the other one, considering it's also $20 less. So yeah. All right, the Steve. We did kind of talk about this. There is that's the last one from them, but yeah, I like this as a good little runabout. I have been using it on a few of the bunker missions. If you like to say take a bigger ship and drive into the bunker instead, this is a little good vehicle to do that, and it handles really, really well. Your thoughts, Batgirl, on the Steve?
It's great for racing. I like it.
Yeah,
it's fun. I've done box missions with it. I love the fact that you can put those 2 SCU boxes in there. Or one. Is it one? No, it's 2. The 2 small ones, the 1/8. So really, really fun ship fun car to just drive around in.
Yep. Badges? You hate it? Okay.
Hate it.
He doesn't want to say anything about it? Right, okay.
Just because I've been a passenger with X when he's done some of these bunker missions, I'm never getting in a Steve again, ever.
Well, is it with him or just ever in one?
I mean, I feel like the trauma's so deep-seated now that I just can't. I see one.
Your humor. Yeah.
So I've heard reasons not to get into it. People are like, "Oh, it's so stupid. It has the exterior gun mounts, and your guns are gonna get all dusty." Yeah. But to not get in one because he almost killed you?
He's a big sook. He's a screamer. Let's put it that way. You've got
to watch this guy drive.
Yeah, I scare people. Even the way I park my ships and they think it's going to crash and I just land and there's no problem and they just I scare people.
It'll be a shock to precisely no one that when X drives you get a running commentary, which is almost as terrifying as the actual driving. So every time he gets nervous about something, we all get to know about it, and that's no. It's like having that passenger in the car who screams when they see something they think is a danger, except they're the driver in this instance, and it's not good.
I don't know, it just comes with the content creation thing. You're kind of used to commentating yourself. So yeah. The Merlin and the Archimedes. For me, these are the ships that you kind of get for free with the Connie or the Phoenix. I can't envision any reason anymore why you'd want to buy one. You can't really use them as an LTI token anymore. I can't.
They're racers.
Yeah, you could get behind this as a cheap racing ship, I guess. That I could kind of give you that. Yeah. But again, I just don't see it winning any races personally. But yeah. For me, they're just an easy pass. What about you guys?
It came with my Phoenix.
Yep. So for you, Badges, or?
Yeah, I had one on the Andromeda while it was my loaner for the Taurus. Yeah, I think they look hella cool.
Yeah.
And what I also think is there's some really interesting, I I don't want to use the term because I don't use it. I'm not a design professional, but there is some really interesting language in the body there that makes me want to see more from Kruger Intergalactic. Gib CIG, please let us see more of what these guys do, because I think it'd be really interesting if these are anything to go by.
If only it would shut Alfred up asking for more Kruger ships. That is the reason we need more Kruger ships. No, seriously. He is right, though. Like, they do need some more ships, in all seriousness.
Yeah.
They do. And I agree with Badges there. What about you, Batgirl? Would you like to see another one from Kruger?
No, I would love to see them do something else. I mean, I wouldn't want them to pull it off of like finishing a different ship, but I would like to see more, because I love the design of it. I love the cockpit, how it wraps around you and you can see right through everything.
Yep.
It's a really good design language on this, and I know they pulled it from the Merlin engine in the Mustang, you know, and that really just gets me going. And that center Gatling gun, it does damage. It is able to hold its own. I've taken one of these through Vandal Swarm. They are pretty powerful if you know how to fly it.
I've done the same thing. I've actually completed the level 10 of Vandal Swarm with one of these. It's difficult, but it is doable.
Yeah. And fun.
I might be wrong here in saying this, but I think I'll word it this way. I think it's one of the few ships from a fighter perspective where you fly from the back as well. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Most of them are very front-forward centric. I'm trying to think it through in my brain, and I can't think of any others off the top of my head where you fly from the back like this. So it is a different flight experience. I know it's very short, so it almost feels like you're right at the front. But yeah.
The design language came from Supermarine, you know, like, so they have the Merlin, which was the engine for the Mustang, and the Spitfire, but one of the Spitfire racers, or not Spitfire, Supermarine racers in the 30s had that same design, and that's what they were going for.
So, yeah, almost looks a bit like a boat too, with the way you got this curve here. But yeah, all right. Again, as I said, the before the AI, the CCU today is the Mole. The recommendation there is the Harbinger to the Mole for that one. And last but not least, and I was told not to show this, but I'm going to show it anyway, is we have this Mustang skin in Mustad. Is it the Mustard Mustang? Is that what we're going to call this? That's what it should be called. But yeah, I don't terribly hate it. It is very different, and it's clearly a color that was missing from the lineup. We had every other color, like blue, red, green, and we didn't have yellow. So yeah, guys, like it, hate it?
Yeah. I'm going to go on a limb here and say this is far better than the red and orange Pisces skin that they released yesterday.
Shut your mouth.
Shut your mouth. That's just ugly. It's fugly. Yeah. You can change my mind. Yeah. No, I actually quite like it. Yeah. I think the closer you get to it, the better it looks. It'll just remains to be seen how it looks in game, whether or not it's got a little bit of kind of depth to it, or whether it ends up just looking like someone smeared mustard over a Mustang.
Yeah. So just like you, basically, in all things there. Batgirl, your thoughts on that skin?
My 315P used to be yellow, and now it's black.
Oh, okay. That says everything. All right. Is there anything you guys would like to hear from people below in the comments? Did you get a Pioneer? That's what I want to hear. And was it hard? I'd like that. That's what I would like to hear. What about you, Batgirl? Is there anything you'd like to hear in the comments?
Besides Kruger, since we all want them to make more, what other of these manufacturers would you like to make another ship?
That's a good one. What about you, Badges? Is there anything you would like to hear?
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
You know, do Greycat need to get into the ship business? Let us know.
And I'm so professional, I forgot to change the background for the whole episode. So I just fixed it on the fly. It's all good. Don't worry about it. With that, that's been the smaller manufacturers for this year's IAE. She's been Batgirl. He's been Badges. I've been Execute. I'm gonna catch you in the next one.